Hi there, I'm Paige, funnel strategist, conversion copywriter, and the founder of The Impact Copywriter. In this video, I'm going to take a critical look at Amy Porterfield's course masterclass registration page. Now, before I dive in, I just want to say that Amy Porterfield is a very experienced marketer. This page is probably working well for her, or she wouldn't be using it, and she's probably running A/B tests as well. So when you're setting up your own funnel, make sure you have analytics tools like Hotjar set up so you can measure conversion rates and see how people interact on the page. Once you have your funnel set up and you're ready to start making changes, make sure you do so using A and B split tests. That way you're relying on data, not on your emotions or your gut feeling on what's really increasing your conversion rates. There are a few things I really like about this page. First of all, it is very, very clean, very minimal. We just have a headline, a subhead, a button, and a nice background image. That's really it. There's nothing else. It just fills the window, and that's it. So it's really, really short page, but it comes off as very clean and trustworthy. I do like that she's using a nice professional image as the background. She is the face of her business. This makes sense, and it contributes to a positive kind of perception of her brand, of her and her brand. I thought it was interesting that if you see in the bottom here, she's using barely visible terms of service and privacy policy. Now, currently, Facebook and some other ad platforms require you to have these linked on any page you send ads to. Otherwise, your ads won't get approved. So I like the fact that she's kind of muted them out so they're not distracting people from the goal of this page, which is to reserve their seat. But I do think maybe they're a little too light. I could barely see them, and I was looking for them. So, of course, they're there so that people who want to know about the terms of service or privacy policy can see them or can look. So maybe increasing that a little bit. But I do like the idea of kind of muting those a bit so they're not distracting. And finally, I think her headline is super strong, really, really strong. How to confidently create your first profitable course in 60 days. So we have a promise. Create your first profitable course, not just any course, a profitable course. That speaks to a desire, a need of the people she's attracting here is they want to be profitable with their course. Then we're speaking to some emotions with the confidently word here. And then we have a time limit. So it's a promise delivered in 60 days. So this is a really strong headline. This is definitely something that you could use to tweak and model your headlines after. Now let's get into some things that I would consider testing out on this page. Now the first would be video, using video. Now Amy, I've been on some of her trainings before. She's very genuine. She's very personable and friendly. It's easy to like her. And I think she should really play that up more. She does a podcast, she does videos, but there are lots of places in her funnel where she could be using video more to start to build that connection earlier. Now, I've been through this funnel, and when I went through it, up until this point, there was a lead gen funnel before this masterclass invitation, so a checklist. There wasn't any videos there either. There's not any videos here. You really don't get a chance to even hear Amy speak or see her face. It kind of in a live action kind of video until you get on her masterclass, which is just another word for a webinar. So I would consider testing using a video invitation here. Something that's short, 2 to 5 minutes, where she can really introduce herself, introduce her value proposition. So why she's here giving this masterclass, what she hopes it will deliver for the people who attend, and then kind of tease some of the contents of the masterclass without actually giving anything away. So kind of doing like Hollywood does with the teasers. So give enough information to get them excited, but not give them the answers so they have to attend to get those. And then, of course, to invite them to reserve their seat by clicking the button. I think using a video would be an interesting tactic to start building that connection with her and with her face, her brand, her voice, earlier than the master class. So, would having that brief video of her speaking to you, inviting you to join her, would that actually increase conversions? That would be an interesting test. Now, the second thing I noticed is there's not any teaser information here. So we've got a really strong headline, which is great, and maybe that's enough, but we might consider testing some 3 to 4 bullet points, or what I call teasers. Some other people call them fascinations, to kind of tease out the content of what's actually going to be covered in this course. So highlight some of the content so that I have a little bit more to go on than just the headline, how to confidently create your first profitable course in 60 days. But of course, remember, with the teasers, you want to include enough information that gets people excited, but not give them the answers so that they don't have to attend. Actually, I would take that a little bit further, and it would be really interesting to test a longer registration page at this point in the funnel. So one of the biggest questions you get, especially in the copywriting space, is long copy versus short copy, longer opt-in page versus shorter opt-in page. And that's a really great A and B test to do. So there are some details here that have been left out of this really clean, trimmed down version that we could test in a longer registration page, in an A and B split test. Things we could include would be maybe some testimonials of people who've worked with Amy and have really awesome things to say about her. We could also have a short bio, about who Amy is, what she does, and some bio points to kind of build up her credibility as a person to learn from. We could even include some endorsements. Amy has a really strong brand already, so I don't think that's necessary. But at this point, people may not know who Amy is yet. So for those people, endorsement. I want to say celebrity, but it's more like authority endorsements. So other people in the space who have great things to say about Amy. I know she has a lot of connections and a lot of people who would have great things to say about her. So if it's someone your prospects would already know, but they don't know you, then an authority endorsement could go a long way to building that credibility. And then again, you want to consider the teasers, which I've already mentioned. So in a longer page, you might have somewhere around 5 or 6 teasers. You may even include, like, at what point on the video they are, like at minute 15:36, we're going to talk about this thing. But again, we want to use it in a teaser format, so giving them enough information to get them excited, but not giving them the answer until they're on the masterclass. And then my final issue was just a really, really small thing. If I click on reserve my seat, we get the registration pop-up. And I noticed really quickly that there was a little bit disconnect in the branding. So it looks like they're using the same font, at least here in the header part of the pop-up, so register below. But it's free font is new. We didn't see it on the last page. The arrow, of course, isn't present anywhere. There's no kind of arrow elements on the last page. And these black ribbon-looking shapes aren't present on the last page. So I've been following Amy for a while. I think this is left over from her past branding. It seems that maybe she's kind of rebranded slightly. So she's kind of removed some of these elements and some of these colors. If I go over to her homepage, you can see they're not present there either. So she's using some yellow, some different fonts. So that may be something that you consider changing. Again, the yellow would be a color you want to bring in there. So, of course, she's using very similar professional photos and some black, so black, yellow, and kind of photos with overlays with some kind of serif font. So, I'm not sure if she has a different branding style for different products, because this is in the funnel for the her course about courses. So maybe this is consistent with that with that branding. I'm not exactly sure what that branding looks like at the moment, so I can't say. And this may be such a small issue that, web visitors aren't going to pay attention to it that much. But someone who's really on the fence might land on this and be like, hey, this looks different. Like, am I going to go where I think I'm going to go? Especially if they don't know Amy's brand. And again, if they're on the fence, then this may be just enough to keep them from moving forward. So, this is a concept I call breadcrumbs. Some people call it message match. Some people call it scent. Digital marketer calls it scent. It just means that you need a consistent visuals and a consistent message. That brings us to the end of our critique of Amy Porterfield's course masterclass. So I just want to reiterate here to make sure when you're setting up your funnel that you put analytics in place. So using a tool like Hotjar, which is currently my favorite, so that you can have a way to measure data. So you know how people are interacting on the page when they land here, and you know what your conversion rates are. And once you have a page set up, or any part of your funnel set up, when you make changes, use A and B split test so you can rely on data and not your gut feeling or your emotions to decide, which changes are actually making an impact in your funnel. Finally, if you'd like help planning, building, or launching a masterclass funnel like this one to grow your email list with the right people and to boost your sales, head on over to theimpactcopywriter.com and start a project discussion with me.